Good evening. It is Thursday night, my favorite day of the week because I get to share Bible study with you. So, you know our routine. Go ahead and tag someone, go ahead and text them, or if you're old school like myself, pick up the phone, call them, and say, hey, Dr. V is on Facebook and on YouTube. You have no excuse. It's time to study our Bible, and I have a special treat for you this week. This is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And those of you that joined me on last week, I interviewed Christina Gadsden, Houston, Texas. She is an officer in the military. I don't know if we shared that. And she's in her 40s. When she was first diagnosed with breast cancer, she was 40 years old. She's 45 now, was diagnosed twice. And if you missed her powerful testimony that was very informative, very encouraging, filled with faith, and it helped other women to know or have some idea of what women are going through. Please go back and watch the interview from last week. And this week, I have another special guest for you because this is nearing the end of the month. I think the day is the 29th or the 30th. Don't make me lie. But we're near the end of the month in October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. This is the last Thursday in the month. I know that's correct. So I want to, keeping with my nonprofit, Healing the Whole Person, Spirit, Soul, and Body. And for many, many years, over 20 years, I did a women's conference, Healing the Whole Woman. So I think this is just a perfect fit for us as women to understand what other women have gone through. And these two women are women that I call dread champions. These are women that I greatly admire, that are more than conquerors, that they have battled breast cancer and gotten the victory. And if you have anybody in your family that has had cancer, any type of cancer, but this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, if you had anyone that didn't survive, or if you have someone that are breast cancer survivors, I want you to feel encouraged tonight. I'm going to pray us in a few minutes and use this to be able to encourage other women to go and have a mammogram. Check on yourself at least once a year, starting at age 40. Have a mammogram. Don't worry about if insurance. If you don't have insurance, I pray that you have insurance. But if you don't, take care of yourself. Do your breast examinations and all of those different things. But it's important to catch it and catch it earlier. If you remember on last week, Christina mentioned that at age 40 was when she first should have started having a mammogram. And the only reason she had it was they offered her $50 for women that would have a mammogram. And if she had not had that, she had no idea she had breast cancer. So she was able to catch it early. So let me pray, and then we will go into the interview for tonight that will help you to be able to help some other individuals. Lord, I thank you so much for every person that joined us tonight, for those that are going to join us later. Let this interview inform them, encourage them, help them to see God's hand in their life, as well as the type of things that we go through in our health and how to navigate through those things and come out victorious. And for those individuals that have lost loved ones to breast cancer, help them through their grief as they do the grief work and as they mourn the loss of those individuals. And for those champions, those that have conquered and they're breast cancer survivors, that they've overcome it. Lord, we thank you for them, and we thank you for their testimony that brings glory to your name. If you're watching and you have had breast cancer, or you know some individuals, put their name in the comment section so we can pray over them. If you know someone that's struggling with breast cancer, put their name in the comment section so we can pray over them. And if you have any questions for my special guest tonight, put that in the comment section as well. I'll make sure she get the questions, and we will find a way to answer those questions, if for nothing else, as I go back through the comments after each episode, which is my normal practice. We'll address those. I'll sit down with them and we'll address those questions so that you can get answers. This is more than just a Bible study, but it's also a way of life, understanding the role that the Bible plays in our everyday life. And for those of you that have not thought about, Luke was a physician, and if we shouldn't include physicians in our care, then why was Luke included in the Gospels. That's my take on that. Luke, the physician. If we should not utilize the drug industry and the mind that God gives individuals to create drugs, then you would have to take the part out of the Bible about the art of the apothecary in the Old Testament, the pharmacist, and the ability to come up with different type drugs and herbs, various things that will help you to live a long time, to eradicate diseases. So it's very, very important that we take care of our health. I want you to lean into that this month. And if you've been one of those people that have not gotten a yearly physical, please make sure you have a pap smear. Please make sure you have a mammogram if you're a woman. And remember that men can also have breast cancer. Please check and do self-examination. Go to your doctor and get early diagnosis so you can get an early treatment along with prayer. Faith without works is dead. So pray, but also do the work. Go to the doctor, do your research, find out the best avenue or remedy or solution for your healing. God could very well use drugs to heal you, or surgery to heal you, or an outright miracle. Who tells God how to be God and what to do? So saying that, bearing that in mind, don't forget, invite some other people to join us and share, because this is also a platform that believes in educating you and informing you. My secular degree is in education. My my seminary degree is in education, religious education. I have a doctorate in education. So it's all about educating you on both sides. For many years, I taught in the public school system. 20 years, I started my own school, and I was an administrator and ran my school for 20 years, kindergarten through 12th grade, School of the Prophets, seminary. So I'm all about educating you on both sides so that you'll have a great, great life. Okay. I know I talk 100 miles an hour. Please forgive me. I'm prone to do speed talking. But to rush to this point, I have with me tonight Melanie McDonald, a retiree, for her to tell you her story, give you a bird's eye view of her journey, how she felt emotionally, spiritually, physically, the financial costs surrounding a cancer diagnosis, how her family handled it, her sons, her daughters, her mother, if cancer ran in her bloodline. It's a whole lot of things. We're going to run the gamut tonight because knowing your medical history is important. I mentioned on last week that my father and mother died of cancer in their 40s. My father had stomach cancer. My mother had ovarian cancer. My Aunt Virginia had breast cancer. My Aunt Virginia's only daughter had breast cancer. My aunt did not survive it. Her daughter has still survived. So this is something that I think is important that we need to know about, because prior to my aunt being diagnosed for the second time with breast cancer, after it went into remission, I didn't know that she had had a mastectomy until she was diagnosed a second time, and the cancer came out of remission, I want to say 10 years later, and she was passing. So I think we need to do a better job of talking to our children, talking to our grandchildren, family members, making them aware of what our medical history, and making them aware of what we need to guard against, pay attention to have the best quality of health. Melanie McDonald, tell them a little bit about yourself. With your marriage, you're single. I mentioned that you are a retiree. Yes. Where did you retire from? Do you have children? And then tell us your journey. And I'll just kind of let you talk, and I'll chime in if it's something that I think people need to know, because I wish that my aunt had talked to us about it. Yes. I had no idea until after she had passed. And then I wish that I have a sister that was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she may be offended with me even sharing it. I don't know if she wants me to share it, but I don't think that's something that we need to be secretive about, because we need to know, and we need to know how to handle that kind of diagnosis. So share your story with us, if you would.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to say, well, I'm Melanie. Okay. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2014. From what I understand,
how old are you now, Melanie, if you don't mind?
I'm 65.
Okay, she's 65. Christina was 40 when she was first diagnosed, and now she's 45. How old were you when you were first diagnosed?
What is that, 54?
Okay.
I was 54.
So at 54, you were diagnosed.
Right.
Okay. Does cancer, anyone in your family ever had cancer, any type of cancer?
No, not breast cancer. Breast cancer did not run in our family at all. And when I spoke with my mom about, our generational line, she told me that she didn't know of anybody, maybe a great aunt of mine, maybe had breast cancer, but she was not sure. So I have never heard of anybody in my family having breast cancer.
Okay.
So that was out of the blue. I was oblivious to the fact of what, breast cancer was all about, except for what I saw in the news and, what was publicized around me. But I am single. I retired. I've been retired now for about 6 years. And I retired from the local utility company here.
Okay.
At the time.
So you were in your 50s. How did you know something was wrong?
I didn't. I didn't know anything was wrong. I just did my regular checkups. In doing so,
Was it a pap smear, a mammogram? How did you?
It was a mammogram.
Okay.
And in doing that, the doctor, I guess, felt something, and he wanted me to have that checked. So I went to the hospital to have that checked, and I had to have a biopsy. And that young lady, she found the cancer. Well, actually, the doctor got the report back, and then whenever I had to go back to the doctor, then he told me that I it was positive for breast cancer.
Okay. And then you had to have a procedure done at the hospital. What did you have to have?
Which one?
You said the doctor found something, and then you had to have a biopsy.
Right. I had to have a biopsy, and actually,
had you had a biopsy before?
No, I had never had a biopsy.
Did you know what to expect?
I didn't know what to expect.
Do you know why I'm asking that?
Why?
Because I remember going to having my mammogram and them finding something, or they said they saw something and they wanted to do another mammogram along with a sonogram, I think. I don't know if it's the right term, a sonogram, but some other way of with camera. I don't know the right medical term for it. They did that, and then they came back and said you need a biopsy. I had never had a biopsy. I didn't know anybody in my family that had a biopsy. All of these things can be very traumatic if you don't have any information on it, if they don't explain it to you, if nobody in your family ever talked about it. So I went to have a biopsy. They hit a blood vessel, and they didn't know, and I didn't know they hit a blood vessel. I'm getting dressed, and I noticed the Band-Aid that they put across the little hole where they did a biopsy, it kept bulging, and all of a sudden it flew off, and blood started splattering the wall. It was like a water hose sprinkling the wall with blood. And I remember saying, I was in the dressing room getting dressed and saying to the nurse, "Can you come in here?" And when she came in, she's literally started screaming. And I said, "Ma'am, can you do something?" She screamed for someone else to come and help. And the second nurse said, "I'm going to have to brace, work like a brace, put my feet against the wall and push you up against the wall to stop the bleeding." And the second nurse asked me, "Why are you so calm?" And I remember saying to the nurse, "I think one of us need to be calm, because I think if I get hysterical, I will probably bleed to death." And I'm thinking to myself, these are medical professionals that should be calming me instead of me calming them down. And then the nurse screamed for the doctor. The doctor came in, and the doctor asked me, "Why am I so calm?" And I knew it was nothing but the super on my natural, just God helping me to not panic, but I should not have had to calm the medical individuals. And I kept thinking, someone should have warned me, braced me. Now, when I hear the term biopsy, I think, oh God. Because they said they'd never had that happen before, but that was not necessarily comforting to me. After they'd done a biopsy, now I've got to wait for the diagnosis. I thank God that after they did the biopsy, they said it was just fatty tissue and nothing to be concerned about. But all of the days in between, I couldn't sleep. I was fasting, I was praying, like, oh my God, am I going to, and I think I was in my 50s. I'm thinking, God, am I going to lose my breast? I'm a married woman, I don't know how that would affect my marriage, just the thought of that, and remembering my Aunt Virginia, and I'd already been years prior diagnosed with endometrial cancer, and God gave me a miracle there. So I was elated to hear that it was just fatty tissue, but just the thought of some woman having to go through that without someone explaining, now expect this and this could happen, and without having the right people in place to keep you calm. Mm-hmm. What about those women that aren't spirit filled, right, that aren't a seer, that they're not a prophet, or Holy Spirit dropped like a net over me that gave me divine peace? But what about those people that don't have that? So I started thinking about other women, mm-hmm, and how we can be an advocate and help them. So back to, how was your experience with the biopsy?
Well, the experience with the biopsy was fine. My mind was not on a bad diagnosis, okay, receiving one at all. So when I did receive that diagnosis of breast cancer or cancer, mm-hmm, the doctor expected for me to react a certain way, but he explained it to me in terms that I really didn't understand. So there was another lady, a nurse in there as well. And then he finally said, you have breast cancer. Okay. And so that's when I'm like, what? I have breast cancer? Not like, where did this come from? Mm-hmm. That's how I felt. Like, where did this come from? Breast cancer? Mm-hmm. And I think my emotions caught up with me, But God, I want to give God the glory, because God always has somebody, like a ram in a bush, mm-hmm, and this young lady was in the room with me, and she started praying.
Did you have your daughter with you, or your mom with you?
No, I was just on my regular checkup.
So you didn't have any idea that you would actually need somebody there with you?
I had no clue whatsoever. But God had this person, she was saved, and she hugged me and she prayed with me. She says, do you mind if I pray with you? I said, I don't mind at all. And she hugged me and prayed with me, and the tears started flowing and everything. And then she told me about a prophet being at her church. And would I come? And I said, sure, I come.
This was a nurse?
This was a nurse.
Oh, wow.
So I told her yes, and I would come, and I told her what time, because at that point, okay, I've gotten this diagnosis, so what do I do with this? So, I'm trying to figure out, is this real? Is this right? But...
Did you feel you needed a second opinion?
I didn't. I didn't feel that. But I went to her church. Actually, two other friends went with me. Mm-hmm. The prophet, just to make a long story short, the prophet did not prophesy to me at all. Mm-hmm. He prophesied to both of my friends, mm-hmm, and everybody around me, but not me. Mm-hmm. And so I said, wow, I didn't get a word or anything. Yeah, that
what
is.
What do you do when God goes silent?
I don't know. you pray harder.
Yes. I'm laughing because I had a similar experience when I was diagnosed with endometrial cancer. Uh-huh. I flew to Philadelphia to see a prophet, mm-hmm, there, synagogue, uh-huh, and prophet synagogue. And he was holding my hand, prophesying to the lady back there in the back about cancer, prophesying to another lady about her marriage and her husband, and took my offering, and I just had a seat, and I thought, well, God, are you going to say something? Right. I came for this word, and I'm holding his hand and thinking, there's no way you can hold my hand and not pick up on what I need to hear from the Lord. So my first thought was, what do you do when God goes silent? Right. God definitely went silent with me in more ways than one, because we were in a conference. I can't remember the exact conference that we had, but there was an altar. You kept expecting. Right. And there was an altar call. So I went up to the altar and I stood before you, and you asked me, and I don't think you normally ask people, what are you up here for? You just start prophesying. And I told you, I whispered in your ear, I've been diagnosed with breast cancer. And you said to me, we're not accepting it. Nope. It is a lie of the devil. Nope. We're not going to accept it. Nope. Nope.
and you prayed for me.
So was I saying that for you to deny the fact, or for you to know that you have the victory over it?
I have the victory over it. And that's how I felt. Something just went through me. So I felt like I could go through this and go through it with joy. So I started fighting. I started fighting, and I'm not talking about a physical fight. I'm talking about fighting with prayer, fighting with tears. And yes, it's okay to cry when you get
actually,
that.
we did a study that
Right.
it's therapeutic, it's healthy. What comes out in the tears
Right.
actually helps. It has a lot of benefits. If you haven't seen that post, I posted it on my Facebook page, The Benefit of Tears. I think I titled it, I Hope You Cry. It's really healthy to cry.
Yes. So fighting with tears, fighting with the word of God, just accepting whatever God was sending my way. But actually, there was no talking. I didn't receive any prophecies. All the times that I went to church, I got nothing at all. Just like you were saying, you didn't get anything. I didn't receive anything from anybody.
So
I'm
you just had to
searching.
stand on your
I had
faith.
to stand on my faith. And so, did you want me to go on
Yes.
about the rest of it? So I told my mother and I told my daughter, and I cried. All three of us cried together because they couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. But then after that, there was no more tears after that. I didn't cry anymore. That was it. I felt like the crime was over. And so my daughter, thank God for a daughter.
Yes.
My daughter went on the internet, and we both started researching doctors that could help me. So
And that's important.
that is very important. And so we researched and we narrowed it down to 2 areas, Chicago or Texas. And we were looking at the people in Chicago that specialized in that type of cancer. And I said, that person is too stark. I don't think I do well with that person. And so she says, okay, well, what about this person? And I said, yes, that's the guy right there. And it was the guy, and I tell everybody, I even told him that I felt like he looked like Weird Al Yankovic because he had the wild hair and everything. But anyway, I knew that God was leading me to Texas, to MD Anderson. So my mother, my daughter, and myself, we packed up. We called first and got an appointment and went in, and I drove all the way there. And
you mentioned something to me earlier about your child that aged out on your insurance and you no longer had to cover her.
Oh yes.
And you ended up with this great insurance.
Right.
The reason you were able to go to India.
Absolutely. Well, my job, right? My job. We have to review our insurance every year. So it just so happened that my daughter, I think she was turning 24 that year, and so no, I forgot the age. Maybe 21, 20, around that age. I can't remember the exact age, but they offered me an insurance since my daughter was dropping. I could get the highest level, medium, or the lowest level. And I started thinking and asking God, which one should I choose? And I just felt like he was telling me to choose the highest one for yourself. Just choose the highest one. Okay, so I did. And they took the payment out of my check every month. And that was way before I got
You had any idea
that I was going to be diagnosed with cancer. That's exactly right. So I was so glad that I took that insurance out. So whenever I did start the process of going to the doctors and going to MD Anderson, and they were my second opinion because they had to do all of these tests all over again whenever I got there. And how I knew I was supposed to go to that
MD
place.
Anderson is a specialized
It's a cancer center, right? And God guided me there. So I when I chose that doctor and we started there, and that's why sometimes you have to just, speaking to myself, you have to just start something, and then God will guide you. And how I knew that I was on the right journey is because the hotel that that we were given, the hotel rooms that we were given were 327 and 328. Okay, because I'm looking for God in all of this as we're traveling. And I said, 327, 328. That was my mother's birthday and my daughter's birthday.
Wow.
So
that was basically your sign that God was giving you that you're on the right track.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. I'm on the right path. I make it to the hospital, and I found out, again, God confirmed something with me. The address of the hospital had my address numbers in it, 1515, and my address is 1515. So
Wow.
I was like, oh my goodness, this is the right place.
Said, I hear you, God.
Yes, yes. I started just thanking God. Then I get there, and I meet a lady, a nurse that was taking my vitals and taking all of that, and her name was Alma. Well, my best friend, one of my best friends at the time, her name was Alma. And so then I meet another lady who I think she was the one that was taking my blood, and her name was Dorothy. And I said, oh my goodness, this is crazy. Now this is really far-fetched because your name is
an
not
odd name.
It's an odd name. I went to another lady, and her name was Vern. Now this is not all in the same day. This is like
I'm pastoring her, Pastor Vern.
Right.
So there's how many signs have you gotten from the Lord?
Oh, just a
the
lot
hotel
of them.
room
Right,
numbers, the address of the hospital,
exactly.
the names of the people. All of this was a sign from God that I'm with you.
Exactly.
Though you're not hearing Him in an audible voice.
Yes.
But you have these signs that gives you peace.
Right,
And
exactly.
I'm in the right place.
Yes. And then I meet another lady, and her name is Grace.
Wow.
Yes. So I said, wow. And then everybody would pray with me. And they told me
at MD Anderson?
At MD Anderson,
wow.
The different people that I went to, they would just pray with me. I was like, this is the right place. So I said, let me just be happy. The process that I went through was very, some of the processes were very painful. So I did have to have a surgery, and they had to pinpoint where the cancer was. So I ended up getting a lot of needles just stuck in me. I was in this chair, and even with those needles in, just prior to surgery, they left the needles in.
Was that traumatic for you to be fastened to a chair? You know, not knowing someone has had that experience before. Did they tell you they were going to fasten you to a chair?
No, when I came in, they just asked me to sit in that chair, and I was strapped down because they knew that it was going to take a long time for them to do this.
But why strap you down?
Well, just so I didn't need to move, right? Okay. So I was strapped in, and there were 2 times when I started radiation treatments. They made a cast for me, like a body cast, just to keep me from moving, and that's amazing too, because someone from my place of employment told me, well, you know, since they found out I had to have radiation, they were telling me, why don't you have the radiation done here in Florida? So I went back and I asked my radiation doctor, well, you know, is it possible for me to have it in Florida? And she was looking at me really strange. And I'm trying to figure out, why is she looking at me so strange? And I figured it out. She told me, she says, well, she doesn't know how the machines are calibrated there. It's not
and
their
they
machines.
are the experts.
Right, and they're the experts. And she told me, actually, your cancer is so close to your heart that I wouldn't feel comfortable telling someone over the phone or otherwise how to calibrate their machines. Their machines are going to be different. You know what I did after I hushed my mouth? I said, I'm flying out here every time. I don't care. You know, I'm just going to. How
often did you have to fly out there?
At that time, it was quite often then. I can't remember exactly.
Well, you said MD Anderson paid for it. Is that because of the type of insurance you had?
No, had nothing to do with my insurance. They connected me. They have a process where they connect you with a group of doctors, and then you have a social worker assigned to you. And as long as you're taking treatments, and if it's a kind of a hardship to you, they will pay.
And
to
so they
bring you out
paid
there
for your airline
They
tickets.
paid for my airline
you to
tickets
fly out there.
for me to fly out.
Did they pay for your hotel as well?
No, I paid for my hotel. Actually, my brother paid for me to stay out there for 8 weeks while I had the treatment.
What a great brother.
I know. It was absolutely wonderful for me and my mom. My mom was with me, and we stayed for about 8 weeks. And I had the radiation treatments for that time frame. But they told me, you're doing really great. You're smiling. And then a lot of people would see me and my mom together, right? And I would have such a big smile on my face, and I'd be happy and joking around. The only way they could tell that I was sick was the hospital band that was around my arm.
How were you able to smile through something so traumatic? And breast cancer diagnosis is a frightening diagnosis for a woman.
It was.
And you're a young woman.
Right. At that time, I was. I considered myself young. But, you know, to me, when you get a diagnosis like that, the first thing that goes in your mind is that, oh my goodness, I'm going to die. You know, so I decided I'm going to take that thought out of my head. I don't want to deal with that thought.
How did you take it out?
First of all, what I did was I didn't talk to anybody on the phone that wanted to tell me about their aunt, their uncle, or
Nothing
anybody,
negative.
nothing negative. Anybody in their family members that they wanted to associate with breast cancer and tell me about it and tell me that that person had died.
Okay.
I didn't want to listen to it. So if they said something to me about that, I didn't talk to them the next time.
Good.
I just cut that
Good
person off.
So you surrounded yourself with positive people.
Exactly. People that were going to encourage me, pray with me, and agree with me that everything was going to be okay. So that's who I surrounded myself with. And then I read my word and I prayed and I talked to the Lord a lot, you know. And I just felt like I was reassured by God that this is the way he was going to heal me.
Did you have to have chemo as well?
I did not have to have chemo, but I said,
but you had surgery.
I had surgery and I had radiation, but they gave me a pill to take, and I had to take that pill for 7 years. And that pill,
what type of pill was that?
I can't remember. It was called anastrozole.
Is that a chemo for you?
I don't think it was chemo, but I'm not sure. They said it was to kill the cancer cells within me. It made me feel like a really old woman. You know, I sang on the praise and worship team at our church, and a lot of days I was in pain because of that medication. So I did report back to my doctor that how I was feeling a lot of times, and they told me to stop taking it. Just stop taking it for 1 month. They told me 30 days. I did not follow the doctor's orders. I stopped taking it for 2 months. And then they told me to start back taking it. So I started back taking it, and then I felt better. But
so you just needed to give your body a break.
Right. And so I started back taking it, and I took it all the way for the 7 years. And then they took me off of that. I don't have to take that anymore. They gave me paperwork saying I am cancer free. So I was glad of that. And that pretty much was my journey.
Now, you mentioned something to me that I think is so powerful, that how God guided you to get the top tier, the best insurance, because you took a glimpse or a look at what that hospital bill could have been had you not had insurance.
Right. I started getting, after I had been going to MD Anderson for a couple of years.
And you had to go for at least 5 years after?
Well, I'm still going. I go there for my checkups. I said they were the ones that, you know, they didn't find it, but they're the ones that God used there. Right. Yes. Right. So God used to heal me. Why not go out there?
Right.
So I go out there even though they're trying to get me to find a doctor here. They said, it's okay for you to find a doctor here now. And I said, no, I think I prefer to go out there because all of everything is just good out there. And then I could just make it a vacation or whatever, you know. So I go, and What was your question for me?
You were telling me that you took a glimpse at what it could have cost you
I
had,
got you.
and you look back and realize it was God that had you pick the top
Insurance.
tier of insurance, where you
Right.
could have gotten the best, the middle, or the lowest, but you
Right.
chose the best, and you didn't understand at the time why
Right.
God was leading you that way.
Right.
But once you looked at that bill from MD Anderson,
Right. I remember a thought that I had when I was choosing the insurance, and it was that you're worth this. Why don't you just get the highest one? It's just a few extra dollars. And so this is for yourself. It's just going to be you on there. Whereas I carried
on your health,
right. Whereas I carried my family prior,
Mhm.
and got maybe the middle tier of insurance. And so this time I chose just the top insurance that they were offering. And I happened to receive a bill, an explanation of benefits. And I opened it and I closed that thing so quickly. I closed it as quick as I opened it, because the amount of charges that were on there for all the things I had gone through at that point were like over $140,000.
Over $130,000 or $40,000 more. You can buy a house.
Right. It was a lot. And I wasn't finished with my treatments.
Wow.
So I just closed it. I closed it and I never opened it. Well, I'm not gonna say I never opened it again. I opened it again after I was cancer free.
Right.
And I only had to pay, when I was going out there, like a $10 copay.
Look at God.
And that's it. I never
$140,000 to $150,000 bill, and you only paid
$10 copay. They collected that every time, and then they would send that back to me sometimes in a check.
What a financial
And I was
blessing
like,
as well.
what is this? So God was watching out for me there.
Watching out for you financially, physically, spiritually, and emotionally.
Absolutely. So that was something else. I think I ended up with the bill maybe about $300 or $340 or $50,000.
Well, compared to $350,000
was what paid
they were
to
billed.
them, right? What they were billing, what the insurance paid to that company, if not
God.
more than that.
Wow.
It could have been more.
And that's something that most people don't know. Cancer can be very expensive. They make money, pharmaceutical industry, off of cancer.
Absolutely.
But you are worth the investment. So what would you say to women that have decided that they're not going to have a mammogram because they heard about pressing your breast until it's a pancake, or they're not going to go to the doctor, or they're not going to invest in their health? What would you say to women that feel like they would spend more money on a pair of shoes or purse or trip versus the one person?
Well, I would say this: you only have one of you, and that one of you should mean something to you, and you know that you mean something to God. So it is best for you to go ahead and do your checkups, in the time frame that you're supposed to do them, if not before then. I believe in going to the doctor. I believe in getting checked. I believe in, if you do get a bad diagnosis, if you want to get a second opinion, do that second opinion. If you don't, just deal with what the, doctors are telling you, do what they say, and move from there, and pray and ask God to heal you, and believe that you are healed. It may be a process.
And stay open to how God wants to heal.
Right.
God healed you through using those doctors at MD Anderson, through radiation, through surgery. You didn't have to have chemo. Christina had to have chemo, had to have the chemo treatment, and she talked about all of that and what she went through in her body. Every woman is different.
Right.
Every treatment plan is different. Don't try to compare yourself to anybody else. Be grateful for whatever route God uses to heal you, whether it work or just an undeniable miracle or healing process.
Right.
Healing is a process.
Absolutely. And find good people that will support you, and and say the right things to you, because you don't want to hear negative things. You don't want to hear about everybody else, what they're whether or not they survived.
So
it.
staying away from cancerous people.
Exactly. That too. That too. But just people that encourage you.
Yeah.
You know, I had a lot of people to encourage me along the way. And I was even able to, I mean, all the way down to from the hotel that I stayed at.
Mm-hmm.
The people were so friendly. They would give me and my mom a tour. Like we were there for 8 weeks, so we made friends with the people at the hotel. So they went above and beyond for us because they saw us every day. And so they loved my mom. They said she was just really sweet, you know, and everything. But they would give us a tour of the city of Houston when they weren't supposed to do that.
Wow.
But we had fun, you know, we had fun meeting
So
the
God
people.
was with you on the cancer journey.
Exactly.
And now you're cancer free.
Now I'm cancer free.
And happy.
And happy.
Okay.
Absolutely. No stress.
Yeah. So the end of this story this is Cancer Survivors Month, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I want you to be aware of what's going on in your body, whether you're a woman or a man, whether it's colon cancer, any type cancer, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, various types of cancer. Be aware of what's happening in your body and do something about it. Take good care of the one body that you're assigned. Put financial emphasis on yourself. Eat right, exercise, cut cancerous people out of your life. Remember to pray and stay positive. You are what you eat. Eat the right foods. And then trust God to do the rest. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. This is Dr. V. I love you with the love of my Lord. Don't forget to encourage someone else. Reach out to some individuals. Share this episode with people that may not be aware. I learned so much from Christina's interview last week, and I've learned a lot from your interview, especially when you're talking about these bills, hospital bills. That's unimaginable. $350,000 house is the cost of your cancer care. But God took care of her financially. It could have bankrupted her. Had she not chose the right insurance on her job, she could have been bankrupt. But so God is good. I want you to make sure to be good to yourself. Share this with other individuals. And I'm going to pray once again as we end this episode, praying for those individuals that have lost loved ones to breast cancer. Lord, I ask you that as they watch this episode, that they not grieve, but Lord, that they cherish the moments that they had with them, that they harvest the wisdom that they received, that they use it as an opportunity to minister to other individuals that have breast cancer diagnosis or are going through breast cancer treatment. Lord, that even some individuals that are watching, you're guiding them to go to these cancer centers to minister and pray with individuals as the nurses did with Melanie at MD Anderson, as the doctors did. Lord, you may have them on assignment to pray for individuals, to help them at sometimes what could be the most traumatic and the lowest time of their life and the most frightening time of their life. I thank you for people that are on assignment to encourage, to build up, to exalt. We ask you to just have your way totally and completely in Jesus' name. Healing the Whole Person has been instrumental in helping cancer patients take their dream trips. We've done it for numerous people over the years, giving them cruises because they had a cancer diagnosis. We paid for them and their family members to take a cruise, or paid for hotel or airline tickets, all kinds of things to make that a time that they could have pleasurable memories, great memories while they were going through the treatment, great memories of helping each other. And I want you to, as you sow a seed, remember that we get a chance to help other individuals that may be in dire straits or financially struggling. They may not be like Melanie or Christina, who's in the military, an officer, or Melanie, who had a great job and great insurance. There were some individuals that did not have good insurance. One couple, we paid for the husband and the wife to take a cruise. They didn't have the insurance that would pay for the cancer treatment. Another gentleman paid for he and his family to go on a cruise. They didn't have the money that would pay for all the treatment, and did fundraisers for them. So healing the whole person is about helping you heal physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Don't forget to sow a seed and help us to help other individuals that you may never meet, but your finances will help them through one of the worst diagnoses they could possibly receive. Thank you for joining me tonight. This is Dr. V. I love you with the love of my Lord. Be blessed. Good night.
Good night.